Welcome to Life Culture Sports with your host, Greg Armstrong. You can find these podcasts on iTunes under Life Culture Sports, no spaces. You can also find all of the podcasts, including Knicks Home Court, under lifeculturesports.com. Visit the website for additional content. You can also go to my Facebook page at Life Culture Sports. Also, Knicks Home Court, individual Facebook page if you're just interested in basketball talk. Oh, man. You can also follow me on Twitter or at Greg1918. I have to keep sighing because all of the stuff that's going on. I mean, you can't ignore it. I wasn't even going to do a podcast about the recent murders. It's at the point where I'm sure that most black people are exhausted at this point, talking about it, trying to discuss it, trying to make people understand where it's coming from and what's going on. And at this point, black people, I think it's at the point where we need to stop trying to convince people and we need to take some kind of action. And I don't mean violent action. I don't mean that, because violent action is not the answer at this point, because we're not ready for any kind of shit like that. We're too fractured of people to try to mount some kind of violent action. That's ridiculous. We'll get crushed. No joke, seriously. That's not the way to go. In any kind of war or any kind of uprising or anything, you have to get your ducks in a row. And that's why I'm doing this show right now. That's why I'm talking about it right now, because what recourse do we have? At this point, we need to, as a people, stop begging people to see our point of view or make changes on our behalf. We have to take the bull by the horn and make them make the changes. You see, I believe for years, black people are not willing to play the game in America. There's a game that you have to play. You have to buy into this game. Perfect example is the Jewish people of America. They vote in a block. They support each other's cause. And when politicians are running for office, they have to give them something, or they don't get their vote. Period. That's it. So that's something that we need to look into. I mean, look at the NRA. I mean, you had a few years back in Connecticut, you had this gunman killing all these children and shooting them down with a high-powered weapon, and everybody, there was a consensus where everybody wanted some new gun laws implemented. You know, they put together a bill, and guess what? Even though most of the country wanted this, it didn't happen. Why? Because the NRA has a lot of money, and they have put money into different politicians, and it was not going to get passed because they had skin in the game, as they would say. We need to have skin in the game. Let's look at the police unions. They got politicians by the balls, basically. They do. So we have to get skin in the game if we're going to be taken seriously. You see, and that's what people don't look at. Like, we can't, I mean, look, protesting, marching in the streets raises awareness. If you're using that vehicle for awareness, I am down. But now we need to move into the next phase. You can keep protesting, but we need some people to move into the next phase, because I think the entire universe is aware of what's going on. And by the way, I noticed something. last time a black man was killed, well, I won't say last, it's so many times, but it's like they're killing us in twos. You have Philando Castro and Alton Sterling. It was like bang, bang, back to back. You know? Then you had this recent killing. You know, it's so many. You know, you had the one in Charlotte. The guy's supposed to be disabled. They don't care. They shot a deaf man. They also shot a man in his backyard eating chicken. Like, the ways of killing us is so many. It's like, if you don't comply, dead. And it's like, I'm tired. I'm tired of talking about it. I'm tired. What is the next move? You've been punched in your face, stomped out, but you still here. So now what is your next move? And I believe we got to play the game, man. All this trying to appeal to people's better self, it's not working. They're still like, we don't believe you. We need more people. It's ridiculous. So we have to attack this problem the same way racism is implemented. It's implemented on different levels. So you got to attack systematic racism the same way that it attacks you. So now we got the protest. We have to have skin in the game. Now, how do we go about that? Let me move to the next thing. How do we go about that? I mean, you have your NAACPs and all these other groups. I'm not feeling them. You know, you got the church that used to be a leader. I'm not really feeling. There's a lot of, if you in a church and they're not trying to fight for justice in the communities, then you need to leave that church. I mean, churches today have become very exclusive. They only about themselves. They all judgmental from a distance. Things are happening and, well, you know, just come to church. You know, they have to come to us. No. If Jesus, the God y'all supposed to be following, if Jesus was like that, come to me. He came to the people. But I'm not going to get all into that. But I just wanted to state that, you know. So how can we achieve, or how can we get skin in the game? We need a coalition. We don't need, say there's 40 million blacks in America, 13%. We don't need all 13%. Shit. The police union is about 300,000 strong, and you can't move them. Can you imagine 300,000 black people donating what? $10 a month? $10 a month for 300,000 black people? You know how much money that is? We can start to fix our own problems. If every person, 300,000 only, $10 a month. What's that, $3 million a month? And if that's $3 million a month, in 10 months, that's $30 million. That's $36 million a year. That's a powerful lobby. And again, that's only 300,000 people, and that's only $10 a month. It's like, this should be a such thing as like a black people's dues. You become part of this organization, and it can provide you with lawyers. It can, if you get in this coalition, in this group, it can provide you with lawyers. It can provide you with, different kind of help. Of course, you would need a system set up, but it also would lobby for your cause. It could be a committee that could sit together and say, okay, we're going to lobby for education in our communities. We're going to lobby, we're going to buy some politicians. Oh, because now you got 36 million, you got a war chest. Oh, there's an election going on in Brooklyn. We're going to put somebody in office that's going to look out for our people. We're going to fund that person because the game is rigged now. We got to play the game. We're going to fund that person. We're going to put them in office. They're going to promise us these things. That's the game. So if we're not doing that, we ain't getting shit. I mean, let's be real. All of this that's going on, they doing it in your face. Because they know you can't do shit but throw a temper tantrum and break shit and burn shit. And they're going to kill somebody in another couple of days. Nothing you can do. You can't punish them. But you see, once you start hiring politicians, now voting blocks is important. But these guys, these other corporations and other groups, they don't just vote for them. They sponsor them. They pay for their ads. They do all of that. So that gives them some power on the other end. Why would Hillary give us anything? Are we putting money in her war chest? Are we putting money in her pocket so she can run for president? Are we doing that? So she can make all these vague promises, because our vote is free anyway. She can make these vague promises. Yeah, just, let me do a little dance here and there, let me get my black card on. And we happy. I mean, Obama literally pimped our vote. Because I'm going to be honest, he hasn't done anything to protect our constitutional rights. And I don't want to hear that he's the president of all people, of the whole country, because he's done things specifically for different groups in this country, but nothing specifically for the black man and woman and child. This is just a fact. And I'm going to do a show on that. I'm going to do some research, and I'm going to look at all the stuff that happened during his era, during his 8 years, and, and if I'm wrong, I will stand corrected. So now recently, they're killing us on tape. It's like they throwing us the middle finger. This shit is just, Another thing we need to also tackle is I believe that the perception of black people need to change in this country. I think a lot of these murders are also attributed to, it lets me know when these cops murder black people at the rate they do, it lets me know that they're not from our communities and they don't really understand us at all. There's a lot of people who work in our communities, and the only thing they know about us they get from Fox News, which is bad, or hip hop videos. They see us from a distance, or they got them old like Jim Crow laws thoughts, they got them old thoughts that, the black man, he trying to rape every white woman, or the black man is super powerful and he's a superhero. They think every black man's like LeBron James, that we can't be feeble and weak too, that we could leap through bullets and shit, like we're superheroes. I mean, I've seen officers shoot black people falling, and they're falling backwards. They have the gun and they're falling backwards. I've never seen so many people with guns fear for their lives against a person without a gun. I mean, Darren Wilson was actually able to say that Mike Brown looked like a demon, and that prosecutor did not challenge him. You see, if we had a war chest and some money, we could have got him the hell out of there. We also need an investigative wing, and that's what having a war chest does for you. We got the NAACP and all these other groups. I don't understand. They should be putting together investigations and having their own findings. That's what you do. Okay, the police are going to investigate themselves, which I think is bullshit, but we're going to do our own investigation also. We're going to hire some private investigators, and we're going to investigate on the outskirts, because a lot of times they won't give you, we're going to put things together. We're going to question people. We're going to do our own investigation, and we're going to, just like the DOJ does, even though they have more, of course, they can go internally, we can have our own investigation wing. An idea I got from Jason Black, by the way. I heard him say it, and it makes a lot of sense. This is a fight for justice, but let's not get distracted also. Let's not get distracted by the killings of black people. There's a lot of problems systematically. Like while we're in the spotlight, while we're pushing this, while we're trying to start to push an agenda, as far as justice, we need to go further. We need to start looking for economic justice. We need to try to root out systematic racism in the school systems, in the housing, in the healthcare. We need to push and get further into these issues because a lot of these issues are still there. A lot of these neighborhoods are subjugated and separated and segregated and have no resources. The fact that what happened in Michigan, the fact that all of them people aren't in jail, I'm talking about suing them, they should be in jail. They poisoned Americans. So again, we've been the guinea pig of this country since we've been here. You know, just try it on the black people. You know, let's test it out on them first. Even when I was growing up, I remember that. Like, there'll be like a new, like, even the bus routes, they like tried new things out, and they always tried it out in my community first. Because all they're gonna do is complain. They ain't gonna do shit. You know, and I just want to say this, you know, it's funny. It's like everybody I know who's from my parts, I grew up in a project. Everybody has stories of racism, either by police, either by stores you go to. Let me tell you, I used to get searched every day, probably from 16 to like 25. Every day I used to get searched. And it's so funny though, because it didn't bother me. Because I was just accustomed to it. You know, I would be on my way to school when I was younger, high school, and I would see the cops and I just put my hands up like it was nothing. Hey, how y'all doing today? Like, it really wasn't, I never really thought anything was wrong with it. I was like, oh, well, I just got to, because I was never doing a crime. I wasn't doing anything wrong. So I was like, okay, yeah, I don't have a gun. I don't have any weapons. All right. Y'all have a good day. I didn't really think of it until I got older. Well, actually, there was one incident that I had. I'm walking from work. I was about like 19, maybe 20. I'm walking from work, and I'm going to catch a bus. I'm actually going away. I'm not going home. I'm going somewhere else. And there was a cop car, a regular blue and white, and he pulls up next to me. And I'm thinking that, oh shit, what happened? Like, they're gonna go past me, and they run up on me. Put your hands against the wall. So I put my hands against the wall, and you know, they searching me and going all in my pockets, grabbing my nuts, because they do that shit. There's a lot of people, they grab your nuts. They will grab your nuts looking for cracks or whatever they want to find in there. It's crazy. You're getting fondled by another fucking man forcefully. It's crazy. Anyway, they searching, you know, checking my socks, all this shit. So then, after they didn't find anything, they were like, okay. They were like, okay, you can go, you know, you just fit a description, some bullshit. And the thing that really hurt me, I'm not even gonna lie, I turned around and the bus, it was like a lot of people waiting for the bus, and you couldn't tell them I wasn't a criminal. I just felt like shit. I just turned around and I was like, damn, I'm doing everything right. At the time, actually, I was just enrolled in college. You know, I'm doing everything right. I'm trying to, and this, look at this, man. That was my stop. Where all them people were standing, that was my bus stop. I decided I'm going to walk down to the next stop because I just was so embarrassed. And from that point is when I started realizing this is some crazy shit. This is bullshit. You know, but I just, you know, on a different note, I want to talk about survival. Because this podcast here is very random. I just said, you know what? I need to talk about these things. We need to talk about solutions. And that's where we need to be at this point. Solutions and what actions we need to take in our own hands. Stop looking for the government. Stop looking for daddy to do things for you. Put it in your own hands now. Daddy doesn't care about you. What are you going to do now? So anyway, I want to talk about survival. My people, black people, your rights have been violated. In a lot of cases, you have no rights. So, right or wrong, if an officer approaches you, treat it like he's a thug. You see, when a thug has a gun, you don't give a fuck. You're going to do everything he tells you to do. My thing is, don't ask him when a cop comes up and he's doing some bullshit. Let him do his bullshit. Try to pay attention to his badge. Try to figure out what precinct it is. But make sure you stay alive. And then go back to that precinct and lodge a complaint. And if you have social media, put it on there. If you get his name, put his name on blast. Hashtag that shit. Put these motherfuckers on blast, but stay alive. Stay alive. That's where we at right now. They're gunning you down for orders that they're giving you. So at this point, we have to make them these cowards, because they're cowards, because they keep saying it. I've never seen a person, let me tell you something, I've seen the softest dude, once he have a gun in his hand, he ain't fearing shit. I got the power, nigga. What you talking about? Really? They fearing for their life and they got the guns and the power? The lady, oh, by the way, the lady did get arrested and they were going to charge her with first-degree manslaughter. Also, pay attention to the charges they give these officers. Because a prosecutor sometimes can be overzealous in his charges. And a lot of times, those charges are they're not gonna stick. First degree manslaughter, I don't know. I would have to read up on that. I would think it's more like second degree. Like if they want something to stick, they can put a lesser charge so it can stick. We're not asking for people to get life in jail. In some cases, yes, life in jail. But we want people prosecuted. It will send a message to the rest of the police officers. You cannot shoot people. But you know what's going to happen eventually is they're going to start to pull out of our neighborhoods. And you've already heard cop unions, police unions say they're not going to do their job. Oh, what happens when we don't be in your neighborhoods? When we pull out of your neighborhood, you're going to start seeing some of that. You're going to start seeing cops not doing their job. And what are you going to do about it? What are you going to do? You see, we can't just get mad when our back's against the wall. We can't just wait for our backs to be against the wall. We're never going to be unified. 40 million people, never going to be unified. So that's why I wouldn't even consider that. Police union's 300,000 strong. Why can't we get 300,000 strong black people? Why can't we? Why can't we do that? I'm down. I got $10, $20. I got $50 a month for that shit. And when we start playing the game that way, we start investing in our own businesses and banks and start having a real infrastructure. What they gonna do? What can they do? Now we exhibiting power. Now you're talking about having power. And power respect power. Right now we're not in a position of power. We're in a beggar's position. Please don't shoot us anymore. Or, I'm angry, don't shoot me no more, motherfucker. Same weak shit. Either way. It means nothing. It means nothing. It's like yelling at your mom in her house. You know, it means nothing. As long as you live in my house, you can't do shit. You know what I'm saying? Be real. We have to be real about this. We have to seriously get our minds right, figure out what we need to do to make a coalition happen and start moving it forward. I've been putting these messages on Facebook for the longest time. If you ain't got skin in the game, if you ain't putting your money where your mouth is, nothing's going to happen. These politicians respect money. They ain't got no heart. We appealing to people's heart. They don't have heart. They don't give a fuck. They kill people in other countries. They ain't got no heart. We have to take situations in our own hands. We have to play the game. And if we're not sure what we need to do, we need to look at other groups. Follow their lead. Specifically the Jewish people. They get a lot of subsidies. They get a lot. They also get their kids very educated as well. But right now, I think that a lot of us blacks, there's a lot of black millionaires, but we're very separated. There's a lot of individual success stories in the black community. A lot of them. I'm not even calling on the rich people. I'm talking about regular people, because it's the regular people that's mainly affected. Rich people speak out. Okay, that's good. It makes me feel happy that you agree with our oppression, that you know that we're oppressed. It makes me feel good that you're paying attention to that. But again, if I'm bleeding and you keep saying, I know you're bleeding, it's really fucked up that you're bleeding. We need to stop the bleeding. But you're not trying to get a bandage. Come on. Come on. I'm tired of talking, man. I'm tired of talking about this. I'm tired of being tired. I'm tired of being angry and going on and on and on and having debates, and you see people treating this like sports. It's done. That's it. Let's move to phase 2 and then phase 3. Let's truly liberate ourselves. Let's truly become grown-ups as a people. Anyway, on that note, this brings me to the end of this podcast, Life, Culture, Sports. Again, with your host, Greg Armstrong. The music is brought to you by bensound.com. And I just want this to stop. And we can't allow ourselves to be distracted. We also need to pay attention to other issues. We have actually larger issues. Well, I wouldn't say larger issues. We have issues as large as this. We're being attacked from all sides. Believe it or not, that's what it is. I have empirical evidence that we are being attacked. There's so much evidence out there that this country, and it wasn't made for us. It's right there. But we can play the game. We can elbow our way in to power. Now, I'm going to play a little clip on how this power is acquired. Okay, on one end, you have the money, and on the other end, you have a voting block. Check it out.
According to Fortune's survey, we do an annual survey on which groups are the most powerful lobbying groups. The NFIB, the small business lobby, has for a long time been near the very top, number 2 quite often, or number 3. It's a very powerful organization. The Republicans now in charge cross at their peril. That's one of the reasons there's a big movement for tax cutting.
And I will. I'll take my case to the American people about why I think tax relief makes sense.
Now, right here, they're going to talk about the voting block. All voting in one specific way or another.
You would certainly be surprised, I think, to learn that money is not always the leading indicator of which is the most powerful group. Consistently, the number 1 lobbying organization in Fortune's annual Power 25 survey is a group that doesn't have a political action committee, gives no campaign contributions, either hard money or soft money. It is the American Association of Retired Persons, now formerly known as AARP. What they have is 33 million members, many of whom are so well organized by the headquarters just a few blocks from where we're sitting that they can really defeat any candidate for office whom headquarters says is out to harm Social Security or Medicare, to major programs that senior citizens care most about. Money in politics, you have to remember, is a surrogate, is one step removed from what's most important to politicians here, getting votes for re-election.
There you have it. Exactly what I was saying. Exactly what I was saying. They want to get reelected. They need money. They need votes. We need to control ours. And on that note, let's bring us to the end of Life Culture Sports. Be safe out there, people. Peace.